a world where losing in your fantasy football league isn't an option, we present to you Triple Coverage Podcast.
Hey YouTubers, if you like what you see, make sure you click subscribe below. Today we're going to do our Week 5 flex coverage. So sit back, crack a cold one, and enjoy.
Football league isn't an option. We present to you Triple Coverage Podcast.
That's why I hate the grammar police so much. I love the grammar police. When somebody texts your or their, I just want to choke them. You know what I mean. You know what I'm trying to say. I hate that. If it's easier for me to read like that, Kirk Cousins School of Texting. What are you going off of then? The preseason? I don't want to live in fear.
And we don't want to live in fear either, which is why we are here to help you with your flex coverage. This is Triple Coverage Podcast. Welcome back. I am Jay Up, and I'm here with my brother James.
Whoa.
And we're here on a Saturday trying to help you fill out your lineups with the best possible contributor in your flex spot.
Yeah, it's always tough.
These aren't guys that you're going to see in your top 24. These are guys that are probably like 50 in the rankings or deeper, and we're going to try and help you with their matchups. And we're going to kind of go through it, not really battling each other on it, but we're going to kind of talk about their matchup and the best option for you in your lineup.
So you want to draw names?
Yeah, let's draw names. Here, bring that hat over here, and you can hand me whichever one here. Let's go. All right. We're going to start off with, I have Alex Collins.
Okay. We
All right.
kind of just talked about him on yesterday's episode.
We did. Baltimore Ravens running back Alex Collins, and he's going to be at Cleveland. Mm-hmm. And you look at it and you think, okay, well, that's kind of a soft matchup. What I'm worried about, and then I'll tell you the good and the bad. What I'm kind of worried about is him being in the doghouse. Harbaugh came out and said that just can't have those fumbles. Like he got benched in the first quarter,
right?
After he fumbled in the game against Pittsburgh last week. So it worries me that he can't hold on to the ball, or he's having that, looking in the rearview mirror, because to me, Buck Allen has been the better option in Baltimore.
I agree, and Buck Allen's getting the touchdowns,
right?
Which is a huge plus in fantasy, obviously.
The thing that makes me think a little bit better of the Alex Collins situation is that he was probably your running back 2 when you drafted him, or you kind of drafted him in that range. So putting him in a flex spot, you may already have, 2 better options. So Alex Collins in a flex spot doesn't worry me as much as having Alex Collins in a RB2.
Really?
So, I mean, I think there's better options out there. Why don't you draw yours and see who you get, and we'll kind of go through that and see if it's a better option. I'm okay with starting Alex Collins in a flex spot because of the matchup, but if he fumbles again, how much longer is he going to sit on the bench?
I don't really love this guy either. Nelson Aguilar, he seems to be getting the targets. I guess I don't love him because of the quarterback change and like the flow of the offense going from Foles to Wentz. Last week, I think Aguilar had like 12 targets, if I'm not mistaken, but he only had 5 catches. So it's like the targets are there, but the offense, to me, getting Alshon back now makes Aguilar go from the wide receiver 1 option to wide receiver 2. We saw Alshon come in and get a touchdown right away. Alshon, I think, also had like 8 catches, went over 100 yards, and got the touchdown. So for me, it's like, I don't know, Aguilar, like, you have Ertz, you have Jeffrey, and then you have Aguilar. So now, to me, Aguilar is the third option, where for a while there he was a 1 or the 2. So I don't know. To me, I feel more comfortable, I guess, with Aguilar's playing Minnesota. Minnesota's defense and the pass defense hasn't been that great. They gave up a whole bunch of points to Buffalo. Then last week they gave up even more points, 38 points to the Rams. Mm-hmm. So you can pass on this team. So look for Philadelphia's offense and Carson Wentz to have a big week. They're playing at home against Minnesota. So I don't hate Nelson Aguilar. If it's between Nelson Aguilar and Alex Collins, I'll go Aguilar because of the upside of the targets that he's going to get.
I'm going Aguilar as well. I think that last week was just kind of an off game for him. He started going back to the old Aguilar where he was dropping passes like hands of stone. I think that's something that can easily be fixed, though, because he obviously did it all of last year and even the beginning of this year. Mm-hmm. I think it was just a bad game. Like, it wasn't like a terrible game. It was just an off game for him. I think that having Alshon come back actually helps him, because now, to me, Nelson Aguilar is never a number 1 wide receiver on any team. He's that slot guy. He's the guy that you feel like you can depend on if you're Wentz. And having Alshon back and seeing how well he did in week 4, to me that means that they're probably going to start to put a little bit more
I know.
focus
I
on
don't,
Alshon.
I don't know if I want to buy into Alshon yet, though. You know,
I'm not saying he's a Hall of Famer. I'm just saying that
I'd say Hall of Famer. Jesus.
Defenses are going to give him more focus than they are going to be Aguilar.
Right, which could benefit him.
Right. That's what I'm saying. So what we'll kind of do is I'll write all the names down here that we're going to talk about, and then we'll at the very end we'll kind of recap and say who we love and who we don't love. So
you're next, ready?
Yeah, I'm ready.
I don't know if that's one piece of paper or two.
No, it's one. It's just kind of ripped. Sterling Shepard.
Okay.
New York Giants wide receiver, and he's at Carolina. And I'll tell you what, he had a really good game last week. He scored 25 points in a PPR league, and I like him going forward, especially if Evan Ingram is out.
Yes, which he is, I think, right?
He is again. Yeah, he's supposed to miss 2 to 4 weeks with a MCL injury. So in this matchup against Carolina, I know Carolina has a good defense, and I don't expect Sterling Shepard to score 25 points again, but if you're putting Shepard in your flex spot, I love that.
Yeah, I think that Sterling Shepard has been definitely getting the beneficiary of not only Ingram being out, but Odell Beckham not producing like a number 1 overall or number 2 overall wide receiver. He hasn't got any touchdowns this entire season. Mm-hmm. So the focus, obviously, on these defenses coming into the week is, hey, we got to stop Saquon Barkley and put our best cover corner, maybe double team Odell, and let the rest of the team beat us. And so far it's worked because the Giants, again, they looked sloppy this last game against New Orleans, but Sterling Shepard had a big game. Saquon Barkley had a good game. So it's like you pick your poison. Who are you going to stop? And every time it's going to be Odell Beckham, right, which opens the option up for Sterling Shepard. And he's a very quality receiver that's going to be getting a ton of targets. So again, at Carolina is not the best matchup because their secondary is okay, but he's going to be getting the second or the third option there. I like Sterling Shepard for sure in that spot.
I think Shepard is like the prototypical, for me anyways, a prototypical like number 2 wide receiver on an NFL team.
He's always somebody that has a high ceiling that's going to, at the worst case scenario, he's going to get you that 8 points, right, 8 to 9 points.
Right.
But he has that upside to catch a long touchdown or to get those 12 catches all of a sudden in one game and 100 yards. So he's got the option to have big games, but he'll never just completely have a dud game because Odell Beckham's there. I think if Beckham goes out, it could be a different story. But
I agree. Continue rolling with Shepard as long as Evan Ingram is out.
This is your boyfriend, Kenny Stills from Miami. To me, last game could be just a fluke, I guess. I didn't believe in Miami as a 3-0 team. Let's just say that. I don't think any one of us did. We kind of said that the Patriots were going to come back to their own, and they're going to fix their defense, they're going to fix their offense, they're going to put it all together, so on and so forth. And they did that. And they made Miami's offense look atrocious. So personally, until they figure out the running game in Miami between Drake and Gore and whoever else is there, you're giving your starting running back, who was supposed to be an RB1 this year. Like, Drake was drafted very high as like a running back 12.
Late third round,
yes,
late fourth.
Running back 13 in that range, and he's getting 3 carries. The week before that, 5 carries. Like, you're not going to... I don't know what is going on there. You're giving Frank Gore double and triple the amount of carries and touches that you're giving your quote-unquote starting running back. So I don't know if it's a blocking thing, if he's doing something wrong in practice, or what. So that to me is a big discussion for why Kenny Stills to me is hard to play, is because I want my guys to have a good running game to open up the pass, and it's not there in Miami yet. So you're able to, especially with Devontae Parker out, they're able to key on basically 2 guys, which is Kenny Stills and who? Albert Wilson or Danny Amendola, whichever one you want to target.
I think Stills has a nice floor, though. I think he's going to get you that floor of like 6, 7, 8 points. In your flex spot.
He's playing at Cincinnati.
And he also has that boom potential, too. Like, he's a guy that can get you 125 yards and 2 touchdowns, too. So he has a pretty high ceiling, and I think his floor is like right around the 6 to 8 point, which is it's kind of low for a flex, but it's also nice because he's not going to put up in my opinion, I don't think he's going to put up a 2-point game.
Well, not against Cincinnati as well. And on the road in Cincinnati is not a horrible matchup for them. They're coming off a really bad loss, so it's do or die, in my opinion, for Miami. If Miami just completely crumbles this game and they're 3-2, look for them just to completely just go off the rails the next couple of weeks. It's like Ryan Tannehill had 0 points as a starting quarterback last week in a PPR. 0. So
I think that had everything to do with matchup. I think it had to do 100% with matchup.
But Jay, you're down the entire game. That's prime spot for your quarterback to get all these garbage points and in the prevent defense and run up the score basically for your fantasy team. And he finished with 0. Kenyon Drake finished with like 1.1. Like, I don't know. So I just don't trust anyone on Miami's offense right now, if I'm being honest. And I have no idea if Devontae Parker's going to play or not. Gesicki, you can't trust. No one on Miami's offense, which is weird to say since they're 3-1. I don't trust them in my flex spot. So if that's the case, I'm going Sterling Shepard out of those 2 easily.
Yeah, I agree.
Next.
Give me my next guy here. All right. I actually like this one. Gio Bernard is my pick. I actually like this quite a bit. Gio Bernard is actually going up against Miami, and they're at home. We talked about previously in the week how much we liked Cincinnati in this game against Miami.
Right.
And I think that Gio Bernard has had 2 really good games since Mixon's been out. There has been word that Mixon may come back, but I think that if he does, it's going to be very limited. I think that Cincinnati should sit him until he's 100% fully healthy, but you know the way these teams are, and they want to get their studs back, and he wants to play. I'm sure he's chomping at the bit. But if he's only going to get, say, 8 or 9 to 10 carries for Joe Mixon, I like Gio Bernard because I think they're going to use him in the passing game still.
I like Giovanni Bernard as well going against Miami's defense. I think it's going to be a high-scoring game. I don't know how Miami's going to score, but somehow they always put up points, except for last week against the Patriots. They've been doing very well putting up points, running these little trickery plays like Jay was saying last week and doing all these specialty moves. Didn't work on New England. New England doesn't fall for that kind of stuff, but I think Cincinnati will. So I think this will be a high-scoring game. The over-unders, I think, 49.5 we said. So I like Giovanni Bernard. I also like Joe Mixon if he does play, but even if Mixon plays, I would still feel comfortable starting Gio in my flex spot for sure.
He's been giving you basically RB2
numbers
production the last couple of weeks with Mixon out, so I don't see why he would drop off the face of earth, you know.
To me, I don't know if this guy is a flex guy, but Alshon Jeffrey. Alshon Jeffrey is my guy that I just drew, and I think that he came out like gangbusters with Carson Wentz. And I don't know if it's because Wentz was just making sure that like he's going to establish right off the gate, Alshon, if you're playing, I'm going to get you the ball. He had over 100 yards. He had a touchdown. He looked great, and it was just, I don't know, like I feel comfortable with Alshon playing him in my flex. I almost feel comfortable with playing him as my wide receiver too.
Yes.
This week he is playing Minnesota. And he's playing at home against Minnesota. So Minnesota's defense, like we said before, I had Aguilar, now I have Alshon. I like Alshon better than Aguilar for sure, even though he's going to get the number 1 corner. Minnesota's pass defense is just okay. And I think Carson Wentz is going to make sure that Alshon gets an ample amount of targets. Should be a high-scoring game, I think. So I'll take all the shares I can get of Alshon Jeffrey. And if he's my flex, that means he's my 3rd receiver. I feel really good about it.
Yeah, I think Alshon's a borderline wide receiver 2 this week. And so if I have him in my flex spot, I feel really good about that.
Okay. Yeah, not much to say there. I like Alshon over, who is yours? Over Gio.
Uh-huh.
But I do think that's close. I think both those guys are really good plays.
Yeah. Let's see who my next guy is here. And it's going to be Mike Williams. Mike Williams of the Los Angeles Chargers. You know what? It seems like Mike Williams has actually earned the trust of Phillip Rivers.
Yeah.
And I think he's kind of taken over that number 2 receiver spot behind Keenan Allen.
Yeah, they did throw a lot to Tyrell Williams this last game as well. I'm looking at the stats just because you pulled them real quick. Mike Williams had 3 targets only, 1 catch for 15 yards. Tyrell Williams had 5 targets. Keenan Allen obviously 10, and Melvin Gordon is basically the 2nd targeted guy every single week out of the backfield, which you love if you own him. Mike Williams is kind of touchdown dependent at this point.
So far this year, yeah, I 100% agree with that.
He either gets
touchdown dependent.
2 touchdowns and wins you your week, or he gets 1 catch for 10 yards. And in a flex spot, sometimes you have to play that guy. I just don't feel that comfortable playing him. He is playing Oakland. You assume it's going to be high scoring. You assume that Phillip Rivers is going to be throwing all over the field. But who is it going to be this week? Is it going to be Keenan Allen and Tyrell Williams? Is it going to be Keenan Allen and Melvin Gordon? Is Austin Eckler going to get 15 targets? Like, they seem to throw to everyone there, and you never really know which guy it is. The only one you feel really comfortable starting every week is Keenan Allen. The rest of those guys in the receiving core area is kind of up in the air. Like, Antonio Gates has had a good game, then he's had 2 really bad games. And it seems to be the narrative there that you don't really know who's going to be the guy that game.
Yeah, I feel like Williams is actually in the pecking order as far as targets, is behind Keenan Allen, he's behind Melvin Gordon, and he's behind Austin Eckler.
But you think that Mike Williams ahead of Tyrell Williams?
I think it's a game-to-game basis.
Right. That's what's scary, because now you're talking like he's a 4th or 5th option possibly. If he's behind Tyrell Williams that game, like you just said, he's behind Gordon, he's behind Allen, he's behind Eckler, he's behind all these other guys, and then Mike Williams. You have to pray that he gets a touchdown.
I think he's earned the trust of Phillip Rivers, and I think Phillip Rivers will look to him, and I think he is a go-to guy when they're in the red zone.
Yes.
But like I said, like you kind of touched on, he is very touchdown dependent. I don't love Mike Williams this week as far as your flex goes. I think there's better options out there.
There is, but he's playing Oakland, and he's in LA, he's at home. The narrative is that they're going to score, 28 to 31 points. Like, Cleveland just scored 42 against Oakland. If Cleveland can put up 42 points, rest assured that LA is going to put up at least 31. At least.
Yeah,
so
but
somebody's going to get those touchdowns.
Williams is the kind of guy that if you're putting in your lineup and it comes down to where it's like the afternoon game and you're down big because somebody you're playing had a huge outburst in the morning and you're down by a lot of points and you're like, you know what, I need
a boom or bust guy.
Yeah, and that's the guy I'm going to put in, Mike Williams.
Right. I mean, unfortunately, though, he plays in the day, doesn't he?
He plays in the afternoon. He plays at 1
o'clock.
He
plays 1 o'clock? Okay.
Yeah.
Well, there you
go.
go.
So if you get down big in the morning and you're like looking at your two lineups and the guy you're playing has got you by a lot of points, he's somebody I'm going to put in maybe to get you a little shot in the arm at least.
All right. I drew one of the guys I've actually been kind of fond of lately, Tevin Coleman. Tevin Coleman, to me, is a must-start. If Devontae Freeman's not playing a game, which as of right now, I don't know if he is or not 100% while we're recording this. So
I don't think he is.
I don't think he's playing. But even if Devontae Freeman does play, Tevin Coleman to me is a flex. If Devontae Freeman does play, if he does play, Tevin Coleman's a flex. If he doesn't play, he's a running back 2 for me. He's playing at Pittsburgh, who has been absolutely atrocious in stopping everyone. Not only their secondary, but they're getting run on, they're getting passed on, they're getting scored upon. Like they're one of the worst defenses in the league. So I want everybody I can get from this Atlanta Falcons team, and that's including Tevin Coleman, regardless if Devontae Freeman plays or not. Do you agree?
I agree 100%.
I mean, it's not even a question for me.
Especially against Pittsburgh. Especially if your choice has come down to Mike Williams or Tevin Coleman, it's easy for me. I have a league where I've been playing Tevin Coleman as my RB2, and he hasn't produced great. I mean, he hasn't.
Right. He hasn't had that one outrage, but his floor is so high that it's like. You have to play. He's going to get the targets. He's going to get the carries. And Ito Smith keeps getting these little touchdowns here and there that's kind of taken away from Tevin Coleman.
He got vultured last week. Yeah, that was Tevin Coleman possibly had a touchdown vulture from
For sure he did. But he's still getting the catches and he's still getting the carries. And eventually he'll be fine. He needs this game against a really bad defense like the Pittsburgh Steelers to just completely skyrocket. So to me, Tevin Coleman is a top flex play or one of the top flex plays for this week.
Yeah.
Next.
Let's see here. Okay. We talked about this guy on our Friday episode too. Quincy Enunwa.
The Jets against Denver.
Jets are at home against Denver. We talked about this before. Like, I know that he's probably their top option as far as the Jets go and as far as like Darnold liking him the most of our receivers. I just don't like this matchup against Denver. I have a feeling that Chris Harris is going to be on Enunwa, and yes, they're going to target Enunwa, but I don't see him having a blow-up game in this spot. And I know they're at home, and you look and say, well, how are the Jets going to score? Unless Chris Harris falls down, I don't see Enunwa getting that big chunk yardage.
But there's different ways to get him involved, and they don't have to throw a deep ball to him. He doesn't have to beat the best corner. Like they like running little wide receiver screens with him. They like sending him across. Like they use him. At least they did in the first couple of weeks. Mm-hmm. I'm not sure what's happened lately, but Darnold's been struggling a little bit. He's a rookie quarterback, but it's they're gonna figure it out. I think that, I just, like you said, I think the Jets are going to have a hard time scoring, but you don't need Enunwa to get you a touchdown. You need him to get bulk targets. You need him to get double-digit targets. And if you think that Denver's going to win this game, then he's going to be behind, and he's going to look to a security blanket. And it seems like his security blanket for Darnold is Quincy Enunwa. So if you can get his 10 targets, it's kind of hard not to play him in flex. You know what I mean? It's like he's not the sexiest name. He's not the sexiest pick. He's probably not going to blow up, like you said. But if he gets you that 8 to 12 points or 8 to 13 points without the touchdown, then if he does get that touchdown, now it's a huge week. So if you're going to, you don't need to bank on that, though.
If you're going to play Quincy Enunwa, you're going to have to temper your expectations because I don't think he has a big game in this spot. But like you said, if they're going to give him 12 targets, then it's somebody you have to look at, exactly.
And I think that he's gonna be checking down to his security blanket, and in this case, it's not his tight end, it's Quincy Enunwa.
You think it's gonna be a situation where he has like 5 catches for like 51 yards or something like that?
Right.
And in PPR league, that's 10 points.
Right.
So
that's a start in your flex. You're happy with that, I think. Okay. Next is gonna be Dion Lewis. This, to me, this is a very interesting, actually, backfield here. Tennessee, I don't know what they're doing with Derrick Henry. I don't even know what they're doing with Dion Lewis, really. It just seems like this offense changes every single week. I don't know what I'm getting there. I don't know what to expect. They finally looked like they were clicking a little bit. They had a nice comeback win and a Corey Davis touchdown at the end there and kind of opened up the offense just a little bit. Rashard Matthews now is gone from the team. So it's basically, Corey Davis show And then, Tajay Sharp, Tywan Taylor. It's like a bunch of guys. Delaney Walker's hurt for the season. It's a bunch of these young, very, very young guys.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have Dion Lewis and you have Derrick Henry. And with the running game, I don't know what they're doing there, but this is a spot where I don't mind starting both those guys because they're playing at Buffalo.
Right.
And Buffalo's defense has been okay, but you can run on Buffalo. And if you have a big guy like Derrick Henry kind of open up the hole a little bit, and then Dion Lewis sprinkles in a couple of catches, I think both of them will have a 50-50 split kind of game, and both of them will be flex plays. Dion Lewis and Derrick Henry. I don't love either one as my running back 2, but if they're my running back 3, you have to roll out. Like, to me, Derrick Henry is like Amari Cooper. It's like you have to keep playing him because he's going to have a big breakout game and get it running eventually. And you don't want to be that guy that plays him for a year and a half and then you finally say, you know what, I'm fed up with this guy. I can't play him. And then he goes off against Buffalo. So that's how I feel about Dion Lewis. Like, I'm playing Dion Lewis in one of my leagues as my running back 2 because I had a couple guys hurt. I have Ingram on suspension and so on. Ingram's back now. I have to make the choice. Am I starting Dion Lewis now in my flex, or do I roll with somebody else as a wide receiver? It's the first time I've had that dilemma, but I will roll with Dion Lewis playing at Buffalo with the assumption that Tennessee's going to score a little bit of points this game finally, and Dion Lewis should be very involved in this offense. Do you agree with that?
I agree with that. I think that they should have a big lead, and if they have a big lead, like you said, both Lewis and Henry are good flex spots because those guys should be able to get some carries in this game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
if they can't get carries against Buffalo Bills, then I don't know who they're going to get it against.
Dion Lewis now at this point isn't a guy that just is going to get catches. Dion Lewis to me is a guy that is getting carries as well. So if he can get those 7 to 10 carries as well as a couple of receptions, then that's why he's a flex play in my opinion. Once they start giving everything to Derrick Henry and he starts getting the 25 carries a game like Adrian Peterson's getting, then I'd be a little worried about starting Dion Lewis. But as of right now, it looks like they're both getting touches in both aspects. So
yeah, so you love Lewis in that spot.
I do.
All right, let's see who my next guy is. Okay, I actually like this guy quite a bit. Jared Cook.
First tight end.
First tight end in our flex spot. And if you have a league where your flex spot is running back, receiver, or tight end, he's somebody that's probably not your number 1 tight end, but you can use him in your flex.
Like if you have Zach Ertz and Jared Cook, now you can play both.
He clearly is Derek Carr's go-to guy.
Yeah.
He looks for him quite a bit whenever he's scrambling out and he's in trouble. He looks for Jared Cook, and Jared Cook has been pretty sure-handed the last 2 years for the Raiders.
Yeah.
He's a guy that no one drafted as their top 12 tight end, but he's giving you top 3 tight end production this year.
Do you think, though, that has to do with... Okay, like me and David were talking yesterday, one of our friends, and he has Jared Cook in almost every single league, and he's all high on him. And I'm like, well, look what he's done, though. Let's look at his numbers. He goes like 36 points week 1. And then he had 8 week 2, 8 again week 3, 34 again last week. But even his floor is getting you 8 points in your flex, and that's his lowest. So it's like... He's rated so high. He's like the number 1 tight end, I think, scoring this season because of those 2 huge weeks. But if you look at his up and down, his down is still 8.5 points a game.
Which to me, that doesn't count as a boom or bust because to me, 8 points isn't a bust for your flex spot.
8 to 9 points is not a bust. I mean, you want more if you can get it, but at least he's not getting you 1 or 2, and he's just completely irrelevant.
Right.
And then they also are playing at the Chargers, who you've been known now to, you can see that teams are passing on the Chargers now with a couple injuries they have in their secondary. So I like Jared Cook in this spot.
Kittle just had that big 80-yard touchdown against them last week, so they obviously aren't shutting down the tight end every week.
Yeah, I like Jared Cook in this spot a lot as our first tight end. Is there a first tight end ever to make an appearance on flex coverage?
It is actually.
Well, there you go, Jared Cook. Welcome to flex. Next, okay, so Phillip Lindsay is who I just drew. He is playing at the New York Jets. I think the Jets' defense is average or a little bit above average. They've been struggling in the offensive game because Darnold's a rookie quarterback. So Phillip Lindsay, to me, I think that Denver's going to be winning this game, but they've been using Freeman and Lindsay in both the run and the passing game. Freeman seems to be getting a majority of the touchdowns once it gets in because he's a little bit bigger, but they're giving carries to Lindsay as well. They're passing to him and they're giving him carries. So I like him here in the flex spot. He was definitely not even drafted, so you got to be loving the fact that this guy is your third option. He probably is your 4th or 5th running back when the season started and you picked him up off waivers. But now I'm okay with starting Lindsay every single week and Freeman every single week in my flex spot.
He's only burned you the 1 week in the flex spot because of the altercation he got in.
Yeah, he swung.
Yeah, and so he got ejected from the game. But other than that, he hasn't gotten you 25 points, but he's gotten you that nice floor of like 10, 12 points, and that's exactly what you want in your flex spot. So I'm very comfortable rolling Lindsay out every week, no matter who the matchup, really.
Right.
Like, it seems they kind of use him the way they want to, and he gets you that 10, 12 points somehow.
I'm more worried about Case Keenum than I am Phillip Lindsay. I'm worried that Case Keenum and this offense, like these poor guys, like Demaryius Thomas and Emmanuel Sanders, like it's almost like they're wasting away the best years of their careers and like their prime with all these quarterbacks that can't get on the ball.
He still keys on Emmanuel Sanders quite a bit, but Thomas is just non-existent.
Demaryius Thomas 3 years ago with the Peyton Manning or whatever it was like
top 10.
Dude, the guy was incredible every single week, and then it's like then you give him like Paxton Lynch and the Trevor Simeons and the so-ons and the so-forths. And then all of a sudden, it's like, he's just a guy now, and it's like, it's sad to see that he's 30 or 31 years old, and he's basically just like, you don't even know if you can rely on him as your number two now. Now he's like a borderline flex player every single week with Case Keenum. Chad Kelly's got a stronger arm. I don't know if that's the answer eventually, but it just sucks for fantasy purposes wise. This Denver offense can be a lot better if they just get a quarterback there that can get the ball to the outside.
Can I give you a narrative? I'm going to give you a narrative. This is a long shot. This may be a saver for a bold predictions episode. But I think that Case Keenum will either come out of this game either because he's playing so bad that he gets benched or maybe re-injures that knee that's kind of giving him trouble. He's got a brace on it.
Okay. We're predicting injuries now.
Chad Kelly comes in, right?
Lights it up.
And next week, week 6, he goes in and he beats the Rams. Chad Kelly does. And I'm not saying he's going to go on to be a quarterback one, but that's going to be the narrative is that they're not going to have any tape on Chad Kelly. The Rams won't, and they're sandwiched in between those two division games.
Okay.
So that's what I'm going to predict. A little bold prediction for you there. Even though it's not the bold prediction episode, I think that Chad Kelly will come into this game at some point, whether it's because of Case Keenum's knee just not right. I'm not predicting injury. I'm saying his knee's already injured. He's already wearing a brace on it.
Nostradamus.
So if he comes out and starts playing like crap again, maybe they just sit him down and say, "Hey, look, until you get
like
right."
Like a second half type of thing.
Yes.
Second half, Chad Kelly comes back, they leads them to victory, and then he goes in next week. The team's all supporting him, and then I think that you're wrong with them gonna beat the Rams outright. I think that all he has to do really to win that starting job, if that does happen leading up to week 6. Then all he has to really do is just hang with them and give them a chance to win at the end of the game. He doesn't have to even win that game outright. As long as he stays close to them and maybe keeps it a field goal game, have a chance to win at the end, that's going to be enough to, I think, show that he can.
I just think the Rams have a letdown next week. And as much as I like the Rams to go on to probably the Super Bowl this year, as long as they don't have any injuries, I think the Rams have a letdown next week. And so this is the narrative I'm trying to set up.
Yeah, I see you. Okay. Keep setting it up, Jinxie. So instead of drawing another name, do you want to go over the names that we did and then put them like how you...
That's a quick recap. So
go ahead.
We have Alex Collins, who neither one of us really loved.
No.
So that's going to be a don't love for us this week. Nelson Aguilar, we kind of put as a love.
Yeah, he's
borderline, but I think I'm gonna go ahead and say he's a love for us. Sterling Shepard,
he's a like for me.
Okay. Sterling Shepard, love for both of us.
I'm in love with him. I'm marrying Sterling Shepard.
Kenny Stills this week, don't love.
Yeah, he's a strong like to me. I'm flirting with him, but I'm not ready to commit.
I might even ask for his phone number,
but I'm not gonna commit to him.
Gio Bernard, we both love, even if Mixon does come back.
Yeah, love him. I'm willing to take him to the altar for sure.
Alshon Jeffrey, we both love.
I love him more than a flex. I love him as a wide receiver too, actually.
I'm in the same boat with that. If you have him as your wide receiver,
there's not room for you in this boat. There's only 2 of us here.
Mike Williams this week, we do not love.
No, I don't even. I'm like flirting with him. I don't even like him. Yeah, I'm just teasing him.
I might check him out across the bar.
No, yeah, like I'll give him a look, but then I'm like, all right, let me move on to somebody else I can rely more on.
Tevin Coleman, we both love this week.
Tevin Coleman, I've loved you for a long time. You won't call me back, but I like Tevin Coleman. I mean, I love Tevin Coleman.
Like right now, he's ghosting us.
Yes.
Quincy Enunwa, we don't love this week. He's on the borderline again. You kind of like him. I don't love him this week.
Yeah, I'm just there
may be better options.
I'm just okay with him. He's here until something better comes along.
Dion Lewis, we both love this week.
Dion Lewis, I love just because of the matchup, and he's playing in Buffalo, and he's going to be cold, and I would love to warm him up in my lineup.
It's not that cold there though yet.
In Buffalo,
like a warm
dude. If it's 70 degrees here in Vegas, it's probably like 40, 30. That's cold.
No, it's not. No, it's not. I bet you it's not going to be 40 degrees.
You think it's above 40?
Above 40 at this coming Sunday, yes.
Okay. Go ahead, keep going, and I'll look up the weather.
Jared Cook, who of all these guys that we just talked about, probably my favorite flex of the week.
As a tight end, I like it.
Jared Cook, we both love.
Mm-hmm.
And then the last one is Phillip Lindsay. We both love Phillip Lindsay because he's been getting you that 10 to 12 points as his floor, and he's a guy that they're actually using on the goal line too. So
it's 50% chance of rain on Sunday in Buffalo, and it is 61 degrees.
Yeah, 61. That's 61, quite the difference from 40.
61 and rainy, though, probably feels like 42.
No.
If it's a cold rain. If it's a cold rain.
I'm not buying that narrative.
Well, I still want to keep Dion Lewis warm. So however I have to do it, whether he's there or not, I'll meet you in the hotel room, I guess.
Derrick Henry can bear hug him.
Lewis. Yeah, Derrick Henry can just put him on his back. Anything else you want to add to the
like
flex?
Luke Skywalker and Yoda.
Anakin. Anything else you want to add?
No, I'm actually good. Get those guys in your lineups and make sure you guys check your Friday night practice reports, or if they have like a Saturday walkthrough, just to make sure those guys that we just talked about are going to be playing.
And another thing is, if you're hearing this on Saturday and we didn't name your guy that you're considering, and you have 2 different options that you would like to run by us, we'll put up a little poll, or ask us a question, I should say, on the Instagram story on Triple Coverage Podcast on Instagram. Type in your questions. We had a couple questions last week of who to sit and start. Last minute guys that you're sitting there on Saturday night, you don't know what to do. Send it in to us, and we'll answer all the way up until probably 9 o'clock in the morning on Sunday morning, and get you ample enough time, at least an hour or so, before you have to make that decision. So get us on Instagram, Triple Coverage Podcast, and look for our Instagram story that you can ask us the questions, and we'll answer within the next 20 or 30 minutes at the most, right?
Absolutely.
All right, let's crack it.
Crack it.